What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some very important levels to be watching for how things are looking, in my opinion, and what you should be kind of like looking out for going into next week. But before I break down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a few things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner. Take nothing I say as financial advice. And then don't forget about the Webull link. The offer ends very soon. Deposit $500 and you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. Anyways, for the market, I just want to call out that right now SPY is just range bound, going back and forth and back and forth, not really doing a whole lot. Going into next week, there's not really a whole lot of data coming out. We just have like a couple of Fed speakers, not to mention more Fed services data. And we have the Fed Beige Book also coming out, but it's all very, very minor. And then besides that, there's not really a whole lot else. I mean, everything else just seems very minor, at least for next week until we get PCE for Friday. So we'll wait and see how things go, at least for early next week and such. But until then, for the rest of the day, we have about 20 minutes left of trading. There's not much going on. It's just kind of going back and forth and back and forth. So we have this resistance currently around 545. We have a support at 544. We spent almost all the day just kind of in this range with a couple of exceptions. But for the most part, we've been stuck. If we end up breaking past 545.8, if we manage to break that and hold above that, I'll be looking for a push and attempts to fill this gap in the higher 546s. And if we lose 544 or close below that, there's going to be a risk of 542 going into next week. As of right now, we're just range bound, going back and forth and back and forth. So we will see. But we just have to be very patient with the market like this and give it the time it needs. Tesla's also holding up relatively well. Tesla's in the green, and we also happen to be at this support. We have 180 as support, and we have resistance at 183. It's been back and forth all day. That's all Tesla's doing. So yes, it's pretty much just doing that. But just know the overall trend on Tesla is still more bullish as we're making higher highs and higher lows. And we still have the inverse head and shoulders from earlier. I will talk more about that in a later video. But Tesla's still holding up well. Nvidia is dipping a bit. We're trying to base. The good thing about Nvidia is we're trying to base right here at this 125 area, 125.5. That's our 200 EMA. We have resistance around 129. So we're kind of stuck. And we'll just have to give this the time it needs because that's going to be pivotal for our future. For Bitcoin's kind of rejecting off our 20 EMA. If we end up failing to break past 64,000, we'll be looking for 64,600. If we end up kind of like losing this support, if we end up kind of rejecting here, we'll be looking for a dip. It looks to me like Bitcoin may attempt to go a little bit higher, but despite that, we're still on a downtrend. So we'll give this the time it needs. That's going to be very important as well. For Nvidia, I already talked about that's kind of bearish looking, but we have that support. We also have the QQQ just trading sideways, not really doing a whole lot. We've been stuck between support at 479 and resistance at 482, going back and forth and back and forth. There's not much going on with it, so we'll just give it some more time and just see how things develop. But that's all I'm seeing, at least for the time being. For Aapl, we have resistance currently around 212. We have support at 210. So we're still kind of stuck here. There's a potential choppy range right here, but we'll have to wait and see which way we break and end up closing below or above just to see which way we go. So we're just waiting. But it's once again very, very choppy, very, very choppy price action. Going into next week, I just want to say that Aapl does have potential for downside. We still have to fill this imbalance down here. So we could still see some downside. So just be careful with that coming out. For Amzn, we're looking bullish overall, holding up and outperforming the market. We still have this nice cup and handle like structure. So I favor upside as a stronger possibility. I think that we could eventually start pushing all the way up towards 188. So we have like a cup that's forming here. We could come down. We already came down a bit. It could come down a little bit more before it tries to continue to go higher. But Amazon's looking bullish to me. For Meta, we're looking a little weaker right now. We have resistance currently at 496 and 500. We have support currently at 492, and also if that fails us, all the way down to 490. So we're on a downtrend right now on Meta. Look for a little rebound to retest our 200 EMA at 496, and we might get a rejection for a continuation down. Let me just double check this. Microsoft is kind of like down here around 442. We're trying to uptrend from right up here. We have resistance at this 450 area, and we have support at 447. So we could kind of dip a bit since we have this resistance before we try to bounce. But overall, we're still holding up well. We also have this uptrend that's still looking pretty decent. So we'll have to see how Microsoft develops from here, but it's not looking too bad. For Google is once again, we had a head and shoulders like structure on Google. This was a trap, and Google has been running quite a bit. The reason it's running is because this not only was a trap, but simultaneously we got some bullish news. So Google is looking more bullish. As long as we're above 180, we're going to be looking for more potential upside. We could be pushing up to much higher levels. We might retrace a little bit since we already pumped so much. We could retest this like high up here around 180 before we try to rebound again. But overall, it's still holding up very well. The memes like GameStop and AMC are just dipping right now. GameStop is on a downtrend, and I wouldn't be surprised if we end up approaching 22. And then AMC has a gap to fill. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up dipping all the way down to fill it, down to 4.3. So I'm seeing some bearish momentum building. But guys, with that being said, the market is still range bound. We have only about 15 minutes left until we close. So I want to thank you all for listening. Please have a great day. It was a very choppy day because of all the option expirations. So I'll be patient. I'll give the market the time it needs and we'll see how things develop. But for now, just know we're very choppy and we do have more stuff coming up for next week. So I'll talk more about that later. But until then, take care, guys, and peace out.